Greetings, you've landed at the VUC, IP Communications and VoIP community. We would like to thank Simwood.com for their support. Simwood can turn you as a developer into a telco. Our hosted PBX is from onsip.com, and you can go to getonsip.com for a URL people can click to call you. We've been privileged over the last 5 years to be using the best conference bridge on the planet. Yes, I'm talking about zipdx.com, full color, full featured, full HD conference bridge. Our website, vuc.me on the webs, hosted by bluehost.com. And our worldwide local rate dial-ins are from voxbone.com. Hey everybody, welcome to VUC 518, which is, and I'm waiting for everything to clear to get to our Zoom blur down. Telestacks, Evelyn Ivanov is going to tell us about how to liberate your mobile number, but before we do that, I want to mention one thing. You can support the VUC in two ways, and those ways are to either go to the site and look at the Amazon banner, and when you're ordering something, you click on that banner first. A lot of podcasts do that, and it doesn't cost you a penny, but there's a commission that is registered for the VUC. The other thing is that Watopia, I just got a thing in the mail today from Watopia. They have a, whatever you call that, agreement, blah, blah, blah. You can get a 10% discount from Watopia by using vuc.li/Watopia. I've been with them for 5 years. There is no better service that I know of. They're excellent. It costs about $5 a month. You can pretend to be in any place on the planet, and believe me, I've done that with every possible video streaming service you can imagine. You can watch the BBC, you can watch Netflix, you can watch whatever you want from wherever you want, and that's really important. I'm not going to harp on it, but if you have a chance, that might be, and well, I'm trying to get my cursor back, well, that might be a way to go and help us and help yourself. Evelyn Ivanov, welcome back to the VUC. You've been on a couple of times, but we're always happy to see you.
Hey, Randy. Thanks for having me.
You are going to tell us, and John is here with us too, and he's been on a couple of weeks ago. You're going to help us out with what our mobile numbers, how we liberate them, and get intelligence into them. This is a huge thing, in my opinion, because, you know, everyone who listens to this, anyone who has anything to do with the VUC, has 10,000 numbers. James, you need to nod here and say that you have how many SIM cards and phone numbers and mobile phones and so on. The estimation would be more than you can do on your two hands, right? We all have these mobile numbers. We've got all kinds of phone numbers. There are ways to add value to these numbers. And today, hopefully, with the help of Telestacks, we're going to learn more about what we can do about that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Evelyn, if you want to call on John for any help or anyone else or ask for questions. I'm going to let you run the entire session. Please go for it.
Thanks, Randy. Yes, I'll say a few things and then I'll hand over to John. What you're saying is correct. It's for some reason, a lot of people in business end up having a number of different phone numbers that are used for different reasons. And quite often, we forget which one is for what. They don't necessarily work with each other. So somebody calls, leaves a message on one number, it's not linked to the other number, or it's not forwarded. If there is a voice message, it wouldn't be forwarded to the email that you normally check. So it's a big spaghetti. And strangely, very, very few folks are aware that on the mobile devices that they have, there is a way to set up some intelligence with the carrier such that when phone calls come in to your regular or primary mobile phone number, they can be handled in more intelligent ways than just losing them or going to a voicemail service which gets filled up pretty fast. For example, I'm on a MVNO here in the US, which is over the AT&T network, um, one of the top 3 largest, that goes without saying, carriers. With that, however, when I'm on an airplane, I'm traveling for a couple hours. If somebody calls me, I would never know who that was. There is no such basic service as missed call alerts. It'd be quite useful if at the end of the day I get an email with a summary of what calls I missed, and maybe with some information about who they were coming from, such as their LinkedIn profile or Google Plus profile. That will be useful, so I know who I should call back in what order, what priority. Similar with voicemail. My AT&T voicemail gets filled up after 10 messages or 15 pretty quick. So if I'm on the road for a few weeks, I come back, I've lost not only calls, but I've lost voice messages that I would never be able to recover. What else? Another thing, again, if I'm traveling and I would like to forward my primary voice number, calls to my primary mobile phone here in the US to maybe a local number in a different country, that's impossible to set up, or close to impossible right now. Of course, if I buy a SIM card from TruePhone, then I would have a global SIM card with numbers in many countries that I can share with folks. So that's an option there. But another option that I want to talk about today is something that's available immediately to hundreds of millions of subscribers. Majority of them probably have no idea that's an option they can use. And I'll just do a quick real demo. I'll just get down to it, show it how this works, and then I'll hand over to John to elaborate and talk about some other cool things. So I'm here with, all right. So this is my phone, iPhone 5S. And what I'm going to do now is use a shortcode that's available on all AT&T-based devices. Verizon and different providers have different shortcodes, but for AT&T specifically, there is one that is **61** then the number that I want calls forwarded to when I'm not reachable. For example, if I'm busy talking to somebody else, or if I'm in a conference call, or if I'm traveling and my number is not accessible, or the phone is on the grid. So all calls coming to my number at that point will be redirected to this other phone number, and I'll explain what the effects of that. So this is how it looks. ***. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys can see it. Can you see it all? What I'm showing?
Yes, we can see.
***61 and then 512. Let me type in the full number. 3884115 #. So that's the full command. Then press call. It takes a few moments. And the network responded that call forwarding is enabled. Okay, fine. There are different shortcodes available for maybe just when I'm on another line, just when I'm busy, when I'm off the grid. There are different conditions. And this is public information available for different from the websites of the different carriers. So what I did just now is forward to a number that has the intelligence of letting me use my mobile number also as a conference bridge, as a personal conference bridge. So here's the idea. Let's say that I scheduled a meeting with a few folks, and we were supposed to get on a conference bridge. Instead of me having to remember a company conference number or some other specific conference number and share that with everybody, and then having to remember a PIN code that I have to share with everybody. In some cases, these PIN codes are 10 digits, and it's pretty painful to join in if you're on the move. You gotta switch back and forth between the calendar and the dialer, and you can't quite remember all these digits. So all that hassle can go away, and if I just share my personal mobile number with everybody and tell them, just call my mobile phone, and we're gonna get in a conference at this time. So let's do that. If John or Randy, if somebody wants to call my personal mobile phone number now, we're going to get in a conference call. And it's 512-970-3297.
Wait, just a second. Somebody's already, I hear somebody's.
All right, so John is calling me. And I'm not going to answer because I'm busy now. I'm supposed to be in a conference call.
I wasn't quick enough, was I?
So well, you can join too. You can definitely join too. Let's do that. So let me decline. Randy, my number is again 512.
Wait, 1 second, because my phone's dark. I need to bring it up. And
okay.
512.
970.
Sorry, shush. Go ahead.
512-970-3297.
Can somebody repeat that real quick?
512.
Yeah.
512-970-3297. Dialing now.
Yes.
This once.
Yes.
And it'll present my US true phone number.
Okay, so +33.
+33. That's Randy.
Yep. That's me.
So I'm declining that.
To leave a message.
The number is in the Hangout chat as well.
So the PIN code is 1234 when you get prompted to join the conference room. And I'm going to join in the conference room myself.
Okay, I'm coming in again. Austin, Texas number. It says my phone is telling me it's an Austin, Texas number.
If you are invited to a meeting with Ireland at this time, please press 1. Otherwise, please enter 4-digit access code to join the
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, James.
Okay.
Hello. This is me. Hang on, I better mute on the Hangout.
So we're all in this conference call now.
Yeah, we're all in this together.
John, if you want, you can call me again. It'll divert the same way because I'm currently busy. I don't have to decline, but it's just another scenario. Okay. So who is actually in this conference call? I see James. Good point. All right, and okay. So let me do this. It's nice talking to you on 2 different conference rooms, but let me switch to the Hangouts now. So I'm going to share my screen to show you what I did in the background to make this happen. Screen share, okay. Everybody can see my screen now? Yes. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what I did is I started a RESTCOM instance and registered the number that handles conference calls. and then I associated that instance with an app, which I just built for this VUC conference, but I'm planning to use going forward too, with some modifications. And this is the app, very straightforward. When you called and I wasn't available to answer my mobile phone, it prompted you, let you know that I'm not available, and then it continued on to also inform that you have options to either join the meeting if you were invited, or leave a message. The folks that were in the know knew the secret PIN code and continued on to enter it. They were their input was validated and transferred on to join the conference room. And that was it. And then if in the beginning the choice was to go to voicemail, then the recording would have been recorded of the voice message, and that would have been available to the user of the Ranscode instance in the recordings log. That's it. Pretty simple. It takes minutes to create this kind of application. Pretty straightforward to modify it. Any change that I make is live immediately. So if we wanted to make this a personal conference room for Randy, I'll just change this, save. And if you guys want to, oops, now I got to log in. Just give me a second to, I got kicked out. Okay, let's say Randy. All right, so if you want to try to call back my mobile phone number again, you will hear that Randy is not available instead of me, which doesn't mean much, but it just demonstrates that you can change, you can make changes live quickly to instantaneously apply it.
Yeah, Randy is currently not available to answer the call.
You can also put Randy's phone number in there.
So, okay, so that was just a quick demo that's instantaneous. It's a live app. It's not a slide where.
Leave a message.
I couldn't quite get there in time. Let me do that one more time.
Okay.
It's a real call, so I'm calling from France on my free.fr unlimited dialing to the United States.
Randy is currently not available to answer the call. You are invited to a meeting with Evelyn at this time. Please press 1. Otherwise, press
I don't know. For some reason, yeah, it didn't retain the setting of the speaker or whatever. But anyway, yes, that worked.
You did hear that it said Randy in the beginning, right? Instead of Evelyn this time?
Yeah, it did. It did. For some reason, my phone didn't retain the setting of that I was listening to on the speaker, so then kind of messed that up. But yeah, it worked.
Okay. So I just wanted to make a quick point that it's a real live app. And change.
No, that was almost a dangerous demo, I would say. What do you think, James?
It'd be even better if I got a drink token at the end of it.
Yes, there you go. Great token.
Yeah, not as dangerous as the one in Istanbul.
No, wait until you see the one that we're going to do in Barcelona.
Can't
When?
wait.
First week in March.
At what
That's
event?
March, okay.
Mobile World Congress.
Well, that's the one that you're sending me to, right?
Are we?
I don't know. It's an idea.
We have to talk about this off.
Yes,
It's
let's
good.
talk about it off camera. Okay, well
That works.
Yes, thanks. That's just a quick little demo, as the idea is to inspire folks to think about.
Yeah, Evelyn, tell us a little bit more about the platform that's doing this.
Right.
And
all right. Well, John had a whole spiel prepared for that, so I'm not plugging him in now. John is still with us?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can I hang over to you?
And John,
Yes,
you need to
sir.
John,
live
you're-
up your video.
You are not transmitting any video, but you are with us.
Turn your video on.
All right, just a second.
That's very NSA.
Yes, a little blue man.
Little blue man.
That's all, John. All about security and hacking.
Oh, there we go.
Well, that's Evelyn and John's. Yeah, okay.
John, you're sharing screen, not your
Oh,
video.
he's sharing his screen. That's what it is. Yeah.
What do you want me to do now?
You need to click on your screen share icon so it's disabled and it shows your face instead of your screen.
Okay, just a second. Hang on.
This is the VUC. It is live. Oh, look. Oh, it's
Without a net. No net. No net. No,
Yes,
no,
no net. It's only gross. There's no net here.
No, no net.
You know, I'm going to have to get something big to stick on the wall behind me, aren't I? This is far too
Well,
boring.
you used to have a thing in the office that was pretty.
Yes, I did.
Can you guys see my screen now?
Right.
Oh, now we're seeing nothing.
But no, we're actually seeing your screen, but the one that
Oh,
you're
you-
sharing the
you got back to
Google Hangouts.
Yeah, blue John now.
Well, John is figuring out his Google Hangouts buttons. I'll tell a little bit about the platform that run this demo. It is RESTCOM, an open source project. It's the same platform that we did the dangerous demo with James and his team and the Ubuntu team and Metaswitch at the TAT Telecom Application Developer Summit a few weeks ago in Istanbul. It's essentially an application platform that has these visual designer tools as well as REST APIs and mobile SDKs that make it straightforward to build powerful communication apps.
Yes, it's worthwhile explaining how somebody who's listening to this could very quickly and easily build something with RESTCOM.
Okay, well, somebody who's listening can potentially start off from the Amazon. Either if they're a developer, they can download the open source code base and configure it and play with it. Let me just share my screen and go through some of these URLs.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out that the difference between this and something like Tropo or Twilio is that normally whoever operates this will own it, albeit up in the cloud, which means that you have a bit more control over it. Whereas a Tropo or Twilio hosted service is sitting in a Twilio or Tropo owned container, and you're just tweaking it. There are pros and cons to this, of course.
Yeah, there's just different ways to host and run it. The RESTCOM being a full stack, fully contained project with all these capabilities that you would get from Twilio or Tropo, you can go to GitHub and download it. Where's the download link? There it is. Just fetch the latest binary or get the source code. That's one option. Another option that is a little bit faster is to go to the Amazon Marketplace.
Yeah, and by going to the Amazon Marketplace, you're taking a pre-prepared template and you're just whacking that up onto Amazon, making it really easy to get your own setup running quickly.
That's exactly right. It's the same stack of codes, but it's pre-configured, presets, to run as a service once you purchase an instance on Amazon. It just starts up a mini cloud, mini EC2 instance, deploys the code, configures it, and now it's live. And you could do the kind of things that I just did for this demo.
Can anybody see my screen?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
John.
can see myself now. Which is
Yeah, you're sharing the Google Hangout screen.
All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. You want me to take over now?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'd like to thank everybody for being on the call. And I want to stress on call forwarding. There are 3 types of call forwarding if you're lucky to have them on your network. One is call forward when busy. One is call forward with no answer. And one is call forward unreachable. Call forward when busy is pretty straightforward. Call forward no answer means that you left your cell phone in the back of the cab, it's still ringing. Call forward unreachable, that's when it's turned off when you're up in an airplane. So with most providers, they will let you control each one of those instances so that you can go ahead and really fine-tune how your calls are coming through to you. But for a user experience, what I've done is that I'm going to go to our main website for RESTCOM. It's the platform this is developed on. I'm going to click on it, and here we are at restcom.com. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to act like I'm a user. I'm going to go try RESTCOM. I'm going to go ahead, click on it, and it's going to come down here, and you can fill out, put your name in there, whatever you want to do to tell us, or go try RESTCOM on the AWS Marketplace. So here I am. It says RESTCOM. I'm going to hit continue. And I'm going to pick out for this one, I'm just going to pick out a small one. I'm going to launch with one click. Now it takes 2 or 3 minutes to spin this up, and I really don't want to spend anybody's time on this. So what I've done is that I've already got one up and going right now that I'm going to just click into, and it's this one right here. I'm going to go right to it, and I'm going to manage the software. I'm going to go right to it now. I'm here. I know what my default login is. I have my password. Log in. Now, if this is my first login, you would have to go ahead and you would have to change your password. This is the standard dashboard right now. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to click on numbers. Okay, I do have one number that I've registered for the view demo. I'm just going to go pick up another one because what Evelyn was saying is that all providers have DID numbers available to them that they can resell to their customers. Well, why don't we, for these people, why don't they buy a DID to have a conference set up? Maybe they want a DID set up so they have an IVR application so they can control where that cell call goes when they want it to. In other words, then, that they could go ahead and, okay, I'm done, like Evelyn was saying, I'm done with a conference call. Now I'm going to get on an airplane, but I want all my calls to go into an IVR where my sales associates can answer my calls, or if it's a support question, they can answer my calls, and so forth. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go down and pick off a number. Country, I'm just going to put in U.S. And what state should we have here? So I'm just going to go down, and we have everything set up. I'll go to, let's see, I'll go back
Minnesota.
down to, where?
Minnesota.
Minnesota, okay. Here we go. What
612.
number do you want in Minnesota?
612.
612, okay. And I'm going to say give me all the capabilities, and I'm going to pick out a number. Okay, I'm going to take that first number because that looks like a good one. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to register that number.
$200-0068. It's a great number.
Right.
Should I get ready to dial that?
No, not yet. All right, now you can see that it's registered now, right? I mean, we have that number. But what we have to do now is that you see where the voice is, the SMS or USSD. What we're going to do is that we would go here and assign an application we built from it, all right? But what we're going to do then is, you know, how dangerous do you want to be? You want to do this without a net? Let's go ahead and do it. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the Visual Designer part of RESTCOM. And this is where I'm going to go in and just say, you know, I'm going to come in as administrator, but you have the ability to set this up so that individuals can have their login. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a voice. All right, and what I'm going to do is that, you know, what do you guys want to build? A little IVR system, or what would you like to do?
Whatever works for you.
Okay, we'll call it Cell IVR. So, okay. And what I'm going to do is that, okay, welcome to RESTCOM Designer demo for the have that right now. We have that set up. That's what it's going to say. And what we're going to do then is I'm going to come down here. I'm going to collect digits now. Drag down the collect bar. Click on it. And what we're going to do, we're going to make a menu. And we're going to come down here. And we're going to put say down here. And let's say, okay, let's say press 1 else press. Okay. So what I'm going to do in the menu, I'm going to add my mapping to it. And when I say digit 1, I'm going to have a target. I don't have a target yet, so let's make a new module. And I'll name this module sales. And what I'll do is I'll click on that. Let's go here. And what I'm going to do is that I can go to sales. I'm going to have to say something, right? I'm going to say, welcome to sales. You will be. All right, so I have that down there. And what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to pull down the dial. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial a number. And I'm going to put my phone number in there, 1-512-246-1490. And you can list a whole list of dial numbers. What this could be your associates, whatever you want to do, and so forth. All right, so now I've got my dial. I'm going to go back to my welcome. And press run for sales. And what I'm going to do, go to the target. I'm going to say go to sales. I'm not going to worry about validating anything right now. I'm just trying to get this up for it. I'm going to save it. Project saved. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go back to my dashboard over here. And what I'm going to do then is, let me refresh it. Here's a cell IVR VUC there. I'm going to request that. It's live now. And then what I have to do is that I'll go ahead and call this so you can see it's working. And then what I'll do is that I'll switch it to my cell phone. So here I'm going to give it a call. Drum roll, please.
So, John, which network is your mobile cell phone on?
My mobile cell phone cell is on Sprint.
Sprint, okay. So mine was on AT&T. It'll be interesting to see your.
Right.
Yeah, you misstarred last time, John. I was listening to the DTMF tapes. You had an extra digit.
You can pick them out with those good ears of
I'm
yours.
afraid I can, yeah.
Somebody's phone is buzzing.
Oh, that's mine. That's somebody else coming into my cell phone.
Unfortunate timing.
All right.
It's because you've got a Sprint service there, John. Now, if you had a True Phone SIM in your phone, you'd be
Well,
okay. You'd be
what you
laughing.
want? Do you want my mailing address?
When I see you, I'll put one in your hand.
All right. But you know, Sprint doesn't use SIM cards; they're on CDMA.
I know, which is so limiting.
Well, folks, that's part of working live. My carrier is apparently Voice Innovations is not routing that number. So what I will do then is that all great people have a backup plan. And what I'm going to do is I'm
I'm
going
not
to
getting
go.
through the number either, actually, so that's a problem of.
The problem of the carrier, not of Rescom, right there.
It does say Minnesota, though.
It's Minnesota.
My fault for messing up your demo by asking.
No.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely something wrong with the number because True Phone's not routing it either.
All right, so we'll blame that on Voice Innovations. But what we'll do then is let me do this. And I'll go to live. Go to call. I'll log in here. And we'll go down the numbers. Come down, and I do have one here for backup.
Here's one you prepared earlier.
Okay.
Right.
I'm ready to write it down. +1.
Where is it? Let's see. Okay, our cell conference right there. If you just dial that number right here, I'll do it.
Which one? Oh, that one.
One with a 1512634.
That's one. 512
8846.
634.
8846.
Welcome to Stack's Rescom Visual Designer Demonstration for Cellular IVR. Please enter 1 for sales or 2 for service. For cellular IVR. Please enter 1 for sales or 2 for service. You will be connected to a salesperson shortly. Welcome to
Is that James answering?
You will be soon connected.
Definitely works.
Right. But what you want to do now, can you guys hear that on my cell phone?
Well, I had it on mine.
Salesperson shortly.
All right.
Mine too. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's me. That's me ringing you, John.
All right.
That's the call you want to take. Yeah, what I want.
Well, what you do now is that dial my cell phone number then, because that's the direct number. But if you dial 314-303-5173.
I'll let James deal with that.
All right.
Plus 1 313. What was the rest of it?
314.
314. Yep.
303.
Yep.
5173.
Oh, it's looked you up. In fact, it says that you're Joyce. Are you Joyce or are you John?
Well, she wears the pants of the family, so I must be Joyce.
She pays the bill. Are you impressed that my phone did a reverse lookup on your telephone number? You're going to say, how did you do that?
I wouldn't expect anything less from TruePhone. Okay, here it is now. You guys hear that? Somebody call in on 443-977-6128.
Well, that could well be me.
It says Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Baltimore.
Okay.
You're Baltimore, Maryland?
All right.
And I'll mute myself on the Hangout. So.
All right.
I'm going into the conference room.
Okay. All right. That's because I have my cell phone pointing at the conference room, not the cell IVR. If you wait, I will fix that right now.
So, do you want me to come out of the conference room?
Oh, yes, you can stay there. Or you can come on out. It doesn't matter to me.
You just want me to stay in there, don't you, John?
Well, I think
let's get James. Let's park him off.
I think the point is that with a couple of configuration options. Oops. Hello. A couple of configuration options.
You're still here.
No,
I'm
having a problem with my either my headset or something. But anyway, a couple of configuration options. You're able to add some intelligence to these numbers, and that's what's important.
Yeah, and that's when it starts to get really interesting, when you start doing lookups on the inbound numbers, and then you filter them, and you handle the inbound calls depending on who's calling. So in the case of if Randy calls me, he gets through straight away.
I never do ever. That's actually my problem. I think you've got me on some kind of shunt to hell. Whenever
Well, one thing I want to bring up right now is that with the RESTCOM platform, you have the RESTCOM Visual Designer, but you have RESTful APIs to integrate your back-end databases, make database tips, or whatever you want to do. Evelyn brought up the fact that, when you get a phone call coming in on your cell phone, you could set this up so that we have partners that write APIs that work with RESTCOM that will go in and pull all the social information they can find on that phone number. They'll look at LinkedIn, they'll look at Facebook, they'll look at Twitter, they'll look at Instagram, whatever you want to do, and get a full report back. And one of our partners is Dynamis. Have you ever heard of them? DYNA.
We have now.
I have not. Yeah,
Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay. What these are, they're a partner of Telestacks. They're bringing their software on. And what they'll do is that you can set this up so that when you come in, think of it more of we're talking about reverse number lookup. Well, this one could do a number lookup across all social media to present that to you. All right. If you get a phone number, and if you're into if you're building big SIP servers and it's from a carrier, you're going to answer that call. But if it comes up and says this guy's a CEO company or an SEO, search engine optimization company, that we all get those calls 5 times a day, that can be handled differently. What you're seeing now is that we are having our software partners create more sophisticated applications right now. And this, Evelyn, when's this going to be released, or is it released now?
Where is Evelyn?
Well, I'm going to
unmute. This is should be actually on the App Store. What is this, right? It should be sound later today or next week latest.
All right. So then.
So Evelyn, so perhaps we ought to build a couple of mobile apps to do things like reverse HLR lookup and things like that to sell through the RESTCOM store.
Most definitely. Yes. Most definitely. There's the platform is there now. It's fully capable of importing and installing and activating apps. And the App Store is now available.
All right, what happened there? The whole call dropped?
Apparently.
Well, I'm back in with everybody, but I'm not hearing anybody.
Yeah, I'm back too.
Also on the wrong shot. Okay, everybody had. I thought it was maybe just me, but apparently the call dropped. I really wanted to underline a thing, which is where should people go to look into this? So we're talking to the folks from Telestack, which is telestax.com. You can go there, but from there, do they need to look into RESTCOM? What are we looking at here? RESTCOM, obviously, but
we've been talking about RESTCOM all the time. The website for the product is restcom.com.
okay, restcom.com, restcom.com,
Yeah,
right? Okay. And we probably should have mentioned that before, but I was just about to mention it when the call dropped. Sorry about that.
And it dropped on all of us.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised. I thought it only dropped on me. Apparently, that was Google that slipped. Any questions out there? ZipDX. We've got a bunch of people on ZipDX. Would anybody like to ask a question? Unmute yourself with a *6 and ask your question. Otherwise, this is something to be investigated. Adding intelligence to calls is one of the few things that adds value, really, to what we consider, all these calling around now. The VoIP minute. The calling minute is down to almost zero, as was predicted in the mid-2000s, James, by everybody. I mean, every Astrocon I went to from about 2006 on had slideshows showing how the VoIP minute was going to cost almost nothing. The real issue is value added, and so many VoIP and communication-oriented soft companies have dropped by the wayside because if you're not adding anything to it, the minutes are not costly anymore. It costs almost nothing. I come from a generation where it used to cost a fortune to call the United States from Europe, and now we have unlimited calling free on our ISP. So that's no big deal.
It's great because all of a sudden it's not about the minutes anymore.
Right.
It's all about the services that you offer.
It's value added, yeah.
A question though, Randy, on the VoIP minute. If I'm redirecting my mobile, does not VoIP, does my minutes?
That's true. That's a good point. If you're talking,
if I have 10 people calling me to get into my conference, I'm paying for each of those 10 people.
Well, you might be. I don't. That's an interesting. That's a point, Andrew. The problem is whether. I mean, I think you would be using a conference bridge if you want a conference. In which case, it isn't a problem of your number. You wouldn't give your mobile number to call the conference. You give a conference number, right?
Exactly. I mean, if you're streetwise, you'll front your real mobile number with another number up front, and there are lots of good ways of doing that. One good way is to just use something like a Google Voice number up front, which does the routing for you.
Yeah, this is a good question. Just get back in here. It's a valid question, and yes, if you're in a mobile plan, where you're paying per minute still, then there would be charges per minute for everybody who joined the conference through calling your mobile number. But in this day and age, most switching over to unlimited calling plans, not only for local calling, but international calling, as Randy just said. So that argument of incurring extra minute calls is disappearing as fast as this sentence is finishing. Just non-argument in the foreseeable future.
I think there's a really important factor here, and I think most of us know this, but it's worth stating. There are many, many organizations on the net. James, are you saying goodbye, or you need
No.
to talk? Or?
No, no,
Okay.
no. I'm just switching my charging lead over. That's all.
Okay. There are many ways you can get DIDs, numbers for inward dialing, and that would be in the country that interests you. There's no reason why we would limit this to the United States. I am not in the United States, but if you were in the States, you've got these DID numbers. People like Voxbone, who are one of our sponsors of this podcast, they offer international dial-in. So you've got this DID, or you're working with, as James mentioned, Voxeo, Twilio, or what does Voxeo's offer, James? Tropo. So quickly they forget. Tropo, Voxeo, Google Voice. Everybody's got all these different numbers, and you hook them up into the different services. But what's interesting about this is that there is so RESTCOM allows you to hook these things into services. I would not forward my mobile number where I am paying minutes into the services, but rather publish public numbers. But on the other hand, what was interesting was using your mobile number to add intelligence to say whether it should interrupt you or not. And in the original communication from Evelyn, he mentioned that. I don't know if he covered it here, actually, because we kind of jumped into the conferencing thing. But there's just so much more to do now than just to have a number. So that's kind of where we are today with that.
Yeah, indeed. One of the biggest challenges, actually, is validating that the calling party is who they say they are.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to just present somebody else's caller line ID. But then again, that's where good old the Matrix, matrix.org, comes into play. Part of the Matrix process is pretty reasonably strong front-end authentication, so that when somebody accesses the Matrix, you have to authenticate on the way in. So you're pretty sure that the person that's calling you through the Matrix is the person that they say they are. So that was a little plug for Matrix. I hope
there you go, matrix.org. We had them on last week. Any other questions from ZipDX or from any other quarters? I'm looking at IRC. I see Brian's here from vSwitch.
Well, I've got one. When we went in, it showed USSD as one of the branches of one of the possibilities. Can you very quickly go over what sort of functionality you would expect out of the USSD? And perhaps it's probably worth explaining to people who don't know what USSD is.
What is USSD?
What is USSD?
Although we did have a session.
We
so
did, but not everybody would have seen that.
I know. But I mean, you go to VP.me and look for that. Okay, who's going to take this?
USSD stands for Unstructured Supplemental Service Data. What is that? Well, if you look at SMS, SMS is asynchronous communications between two endpoints. Think of it that way. USSD allows for synchronized communications between endpoints. Oh.
This, in the very beginning of this session, actually started off with a demo by activating forwarding on when unreachable, and that was done with the USSD service. So the whole sequence of **61, the number to forward to pound, that was a USSD service. And it's not as popular in the US, not very popular in Western countries either, but it's been there for a very long time. It's still useful, like cases like this. and it's very popular and actually growing usage in emerging markets.
Can I just say that? Let me put myself back on here. I wondered what USSD was too, and the first time you guys were on, where you talked about it. I used to use a service called Mobicart. I'm sure you know what that is, Evelyn. In France, it's a pay-as-you-go, 12 euros a month, blah blah blah. It's a car. But in order to recharge your service, you had to go into a dialogue. It's an extremely primitive dialogue with the provider, so that you go to it and it's just how you recharge your card. For example, if you buy a recharge which has a, I don't know, 10 or 18 digit number, I can't remember how many digits number, and you've bought this card and you've got this long number, and you call a short code, I believe it was, and there's a dialogue that comes, a menu system that comes up. It's actually pretty awkward and pretty simple, but in countries that are not super developed this way, obviously it's the best way to go. So Mobicart, you would recharge your card by calling this number. Then it would say, do you do this? And then you would have to click on 1 to reply, because there's a menu like 1 reply, 2 something else, 3 something else. You would click on reply, then there would be a blank in which you would put your response, and then it would go back and forth. It's a kind of a long dialogue, but in the end, it's maybe the most primitive way to talk on a phone to a machine. Am I describing it correctly?
Well, you're describing one application. Let me have a crack. So USSD is a bit like an SMS message, but instead of sending an SMS message to another user endpoint, USSD is where you're sending it to a central server, and normally for some kind of application. And you can normally tell these numbers because they start with a star short number or star hash short number. And the SMS then goes off into a central server, which then does something or replies back. The other really unique thing, or most notable thing, is that USSD in most cases is not tariffed. So SMS type messages, USSD messages, are not charged for in most cases. So it doesn't come out of your SMS bundle.
Right. But it's a really, really primitive menuing system, and it works. It's, I think, like the first level of any communication.
Yeah, well, it can be primitive, or you can just use it to trigger other things. So it's just another way of communicating from your mobile phone, which the end user doesn't have to pay for.
Right, right.
James?
Yes, hello, John.
Hello. The USSD protocol, where is it in the cellular stack? It's pretty deep in there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty low level. So it's an unstructured message. It uses the same GSM signaling transport that SMS does, but it's a different type of message. And in order to make it work, you've got to have something embedded within the carrier's network, the one that you're on. So normally you would not be operating USSD outside of your own carrier, unless you're very sneaky, like, well, I better not say anything more. But,
No.
yeah, normally the services are limited to within the carrier whose SIM you've got in your phone at that moment in time.
Right. Let me just move back to Telestacks and make sure that we've got everything here, because we've been going about an hour now, and we want to talk a little bit about something.
Have we been going an hour? Crikey,
Yes.
time flies when you're enjoying it.
Hello. Yes, we're going to be moving on in just a moment. But before we move on, I really want to make sure that we've gotten everything out of our systems, if you will, on Telestacks, RiskCom, and what the topic of the day, which was getting your mobile numbers to have intelligence. So let me call on Evelyn first, and then John, if you've got anything to say. What are we missing here? Anything? What is the call to action here? Do people need to go to restcom.com or telestacks.com. And you folks are figures that are loom large in the industry, and you can be contacted pretty easily. Anything you were missing here, and James, feel free to chime in too. But Evelyn, first of all, call to action. What do people need to do to get in touch with you?
Well, the first thing that even has to unmute his microphone.
Unmute yourself, first of all. That will help. Okay, here we go.
Classic. Okay. I thought that you should be able to see my contact information here. My first name, Evelyn at Telestacks. I thought I already entered that. But the call to action is, I would say, is to people to try this out. Whoever did not know that they can add intelligence to their mobile number, try it out. And there's a very quick and simple way to try it. See your shortcodes for your provider, and go start REST connections, allocate a number, points you're forwarding to it, and start experimenting. And to the message to developers as they come up with ideas that might be applicable to businesses, enterprises, talk to us and publish it on the RESTCOM App Store, so it's available to the many millions of subscribers of our service provider partners who are offering RESTCOM apps on their networks.
How many apps have you got in there at the moment?
I'm sorry?
How many apps have you got in your RESTCOM store?
There are less than 20 right now. We've just launched it about a week ago.
So you're 20 in a week. That's okay. And what's the revenue split?
Split is 20%. I'm sorry, 70% of the revenue goes back to the developer. Very similar to the iOS App Store. And of the remaining 30%, there's a split between the service provider who's hosting RESTCOM and running these apps, and the platform vendor being Telestacks. So we can keep innovating and developing the platform. Does that make sense? Good answer.
Okay, something I'd like to add is that there's quite a lot more to RESTCOM than we've actually seen today. RESTCOM goes a lot deeper. There are other building blocks, aren't there, Evelyn, that you haven't talked about?
Yeah, RESTCOM is really the surface of this platform that is available to mainstream developers to build intelligent communication apps. But of course, it builds on 10 years of experience and open source development in terms of SIP stack and media, SSL, and all kinds of building blocks that operate in the core telephony network. So a lot of nuts and bolts that are non-trivial, and for folks that are on the panel here, are exciting. For the majority of users and developers are not. So that's why I'm not going to do that.
Let's encourage people also to go to vuc.me. RESTCOM was explained in great detail on another session. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but if you look at RESTCOM, you'll see, I think there's one, possibly two sessions. John, anything to say in conclusion?
I just tell you, just go to restcom.com and just spin up an instance on AWS and just play around with it. I mean, you can get it, $30 a month. Just go up there, see what you can do with it. You could rule the world with it.
I agree. I think you should go check that out. That's always what I do when I'm trying new things. So go check it out, see what you do with it. If you like it, then it's your life. Okay. Restcom.com, restcom.com, telestacks.com. You know how to reach all the folks here. James Bode's from TruePhone. Thank you, James. Michael Graves, everybody else. We're going to move on to another totally different thing after I remind you, if I can find it, there it is, that you can help us out by going to this link, vuc.li/Watopia. Watopia is something that I've been using for years. and if you need a proxy, that is the way to do it. This is not an ad. I'm just saying I've been a customer for a long time, and they do have a rebate program for us. So give me $10, and that way I'll be
There are
paying a
always
little less
times
next year.
when it's
Say,
really
James?
useful to have something like Witopia in your back pocket, and you just need to VPN out of somewhere and appear to be in, I don't know, Iceland or something like that.
And they are the best, really.
Yeah.
Michael's chimed in as he's used them.
It's how I used to beat hotel firewalls that blocked all kinds of things when I was traveling so much.
And somebody asked me about, first of all, you can't watch Hangouts in Germany at all, apparently, half the time. The live ones, you need a proxy, because from Germany, they don't allow it. And also, if you want to look at the BBC player, it works, believe me. Watopia has, again, this is not a commercial. I've been a customer. I'm paying them. They're not paying me. I'm paying them for the last 5 years. As far as I know, they do not have a quota, although I guess if you use like 90 gigs every 20 seconds, there would be a problem. But it really works well, and I like it a lot. Anyway, I want to thank Evelyn, of course, for jumping in at the last minute. Thank you, Evelyn.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Jens, Michael. Thanks, everybody, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, you.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Thank you, John. John, it's your cue to say hello.
Hello and goodbye.
Hello, good. I say hello, you could say goodbye. George Harrison, ladies and gentlemen. All right, thanks, everybody. We're going to move on to very quick, if anybody wants to. Wait a minute, let me do this to separate the two. That may not have even come through. I don't know.
It did.
Okay, thank you. We're going to do a quick thing on Wire if you guys want to, because several people are here who know about it.
Well, let's very quickly talk about why then.
Should we ping Tim, or is it too late? I may be.
Well, we can do both at the same time.
We can do it without him.
So, Wire.
Actually, I can show Wire. I can show you Wire into the Hangout.
Whilst you're putting it up, let me explain the background to Wire.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
There are a number of well-known personalities who have been working quite hard on Wire for almost 2 years now. The leader of the gang is one Jonathan Christensen, late of Skype, Google, and Global IP Sound, the GIPS codec people, who slipped off the radar almost 2 years ago and went into stealth mode, being cooking up something interesting, and that something interesting is Wire. His CTO is the indomitable one and only Alan Durrich, who's well known to members of the VUC, been involved with a number of things over the years. The codec guru running the voice services is none other than Koen Vos, who is one of the brains behind the Opus codec, which is undoubtedly the number one codec lurking around at the moment, and is used in WebRTC. So, Wire launched about 3 days ago, and it is kind of like a Skype replacement. It's got messaging, so one-to-one, multi-user messaging, and voice services. It doesn't have video yet, but well, that's going to come. The voice quality of the voice is, well, it's open, so it's brilliant. It's cross-platform, so available currently for iOS, Android, and OS X. There's no PC client or web client yet, but again, they're coming. The user interface is extremely clean, very nice to use, and the whole interface is pretty intuitive. Anything you want to add to that, Randy, or is that a pretty fair?
Well, I'm kind of showing it here. I do not mean to denigrate Wire in any way, because I really like it. I think it's great. But I'm just curious what exactly the problem is that it's trying to solve. Do you have any inkling of that? Do we know any?
Yeah, well, that's possibly one of the problems. It's just yet another messaging, voice messaging platform.
So wait,
But what sets it out from the others?
James, wait a second. Is this in the line of Slack and collaboration stuff, or is it more a Skype-ish thing?
It's more
chat?
Slack-ish. It's
Yeah.
kind of like Slack for non-techies.
Mhm.
Now, I quite like Slack because you can do lots of things with it. You can
We love Slack.
Yeah, I love Slack. I love my Slack. But I also
I love me some Slack.
I quite like the user interface on Wire because it's done very slickly. It's very pretty, as you can see. I just look at this artwork that Michael's winging up and down the. It's stylish, isn't it?
Just a second here. I'll get that. We got that.
A couple of other really good things that it does in the user chat, the multi-user chat. It maintains a history of the complete chat, so that when you join a chat group, you get everything that's gone before.
Right.
And then if you drop out and the chat goes on, and you then rejoin again, then it fills in the gaps. So.
There you go.
Unlike something like IRC, where if you kind of drop out and you miss chunks of communication, you don't get it when you rejoin. With Wire, you do.
Here's what I see as being so nice about it is that it's the user experience, right? It's pretty simple. If you want to say, okay.
It's going to be simple and easy to use.
And in fact,
so simple it's challenging.
Yeah, it does some goofy things. It does do some things that I don't entirely appreciate, but it's early days, so what the heck.
Is that featuring your dog, Michael?
This is our female, Gwen. She's my alter ego in trying out a lot of services.
Right.
So we're gonna have people we're going to have somebody from Wire on as soon as they feel like it.
Speaking of which, big shout out to Chris Matthew. I just saw via LinkedIn today that Chris now works on all things IoT for Citrix.
Oh, cool.
Really?
Very cool.
Yeah.
He sold his soul again, has he?
Yeah. Well, you know Chris, right? He's prone to move on before things actually achieve critical mass. but
he does move. Yes. I just wonder whether this means that he's going to take his beard off. I no doubt the kids all around where he lives were looking forward to Christmas because he is Father Christmas, isn't he?
Father Christmas.
All those IoT things in his sack.
Internet of Things.
Chris is Mr. IoT.
Dan York. So Tim pinged me yesterday, and we had this idea of running some test audio through Wire to see exactly what it's doing. I haven't had an opportunity to do that yet. The peculiar confluence of hardware, failed hardware, wiring, lack of wiring, the fact that they don't have one that will run on a Nexus 7 has sort of kept me from actually doing measurables. But
yes, that's very strange, isn't it? It works fine on the Nexus 5, but not on the 7.
Well, and Tim's, it works fine on my Nexus 4, but my Nexus 4 doesn't have a working headphone jack, so I can't take wired audio out of it conveniently. And it doesn't, for example, the manner in which I'm taking the video out to share it with you here does not convey the audio, which kind of stymied my attempt to take measurements. But we'll get there, and probably by Monday I'll have something nice to see. Because the reason that we believe that it's Opus, and Tim's idea was...
Yeah, we know that it's Opus.
Yeah, but that's like saying my car has 4 wheels, because Opus has so many modes and so many ways of working.
I'm pretty sure it's working in variable rate. And one of the reasons I'm pretty sure that is that they've got Kuhn Voss working for them.
Well, and so one of the tests that we want to do is put it on a network where we can throttle back the bandwidth and see how it reacts.
Right. and then hit it with some errors, drop the odd packet here and there, and see what happens.
Yeah, I drop packets all the time, but it scares the dogs when they hit the floor.
I don't often drop packets, but when I do, I drop them on James.
You do, and then you demand an instant.
That looks really nice. This screen
I
looks
know, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Lagerway and Chris Matthew and Aswa.
Yeah, one of the
And
things
you can change the. I mean, it's just.
Well,
it's
you
just a
know,
user
hey,
experience
let's
stuff.
start a group. All right, we're screwing around here.
Michael, show the Comms Mafia
Wait a
group.
minute, let me bring up Wire and we'll.
I don't see the Comms Mafia group.
Are you
I'm not in it.
Hold on a second.
No.
Let's form a
Well,
group.
I'll add you to it. Here we go.
Hold on. I'm asking
You
everyone.
know, James. Yeah.
And let's form a group. I'm going to, as soon as Wire comes up, as soon as it ever figures out how to come up, my system, we will join a group with the three of us, and then we'll show that, and then we'll invite other people in, and we'll see what happens. Okay.
Plus.
Unfortunately, my system seems to be here we go. All right, let me find a way to put this on. All
right, Michael, I just added you to the Comms Mafia. And the reason I wanted to do that is because the Comms Mafia is an enormous group with a huge amount of traffic on it. So what will happen now is it will backfill all of the traffic from the Comms Mafia group to your client.
Yes, because it just did send a whole bunch of stuff. Now here's an interesting twist.
Yeah, there we are. Can you just show all the people that are on the Comms Mafia? It's an enormous group. Now, can you show the complete people? You have to swipe to do that.
Oh, do you? Okay, over here or over there? Comms Mafia, right there. Like, that gets in that. If I go this way.
Oh, wait a minute, because now we're showing stuff. We should start a new group.
Oh,
there you go.
How do we do that, by the way?
Yeah, there we are. It's just a case of let's have a look at some of the names in there.
Yeah, well, that's maybe you don't want to do that though.
Well,
so, yeah,
let me start with James.
Luca Philhead, Mark Abramson, Ken Camp.
Yeah, it's all the
Jason Fischel. Hey,
there's Dodgy James. Fred Posner.
Eric Lagerway, yeah.
It's like
Ed Guy, wow, the inimitable Ed Guy.
Dan York, you see.
Yeah.
Fluffy.
Yes, Alex Saunders. Alex Saunders, who's also moved on to greener pastures.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I think that it's going to do reasonably well is because it's been launched by the people who are the people, and so it's going to. By default, it gets huge amounts of support from the community, and you just have to look at some of the names on there. People who are supporting Wire.
You know, the interesting thing about this is I think that the people that are there are the people who ought to know how to do this better. And so even if it's in the early days, even if it's just a user experience thing at the moment, they are in a good position to evolve it beyond what clearly Skype has completely ensconced now in the world of Microsoft for all that means, good and bad, and this is the opportunity to take a vector away from that world.
Yes.
James, discussing Wire on VUC.
Yeah,
now,
let's see what we can get people.
Yeah.
Eric Lagerway. Now, does this mean that we'll get Eric joining the VUC?
Well,
for those who don't know Eric's responsible for Hook Flash and a number of other bits and pieces. And then there's Dan York there.
What did he say? He can't, but he's slammed on the deadline.
On a deadline.
Well, let's
distro RTC.
Plonk the.
Yeah. Now, Eric is somebody we ought to have on the VUC at some time, talking about Hook Flash and the OpenRTC stuff.
Yeah, well, let's see what this does.
Oh,
Now, I was
let's
just
see.
trying to use AirDroid to expose my keyboard to the Android phone, but that didn't quite work. Just the user experience with this is excellent.
Hello, James.
Hello.
Hello, James. Hello.
Don't put on that voice. It worries me.
Doesn't work, right?
What doesn't work?
The accent. See, this
You sound like a refugee out of a Mary Poppins movie. It's worrying.
well, after all the years I listened to the Beeb.
Oh, look, there's Matthew waving to the VUC from within wire. How's that?
Isn't that funny? Well, you know, we stuck the URL in, and everybody can come in now.
Oh, look,
No,
here comes
we
Timmy.
attracted somebody. We attracted somebody.
And let me guess, you've got and here's Mark. Yeah, the Mary Poppins movie.
And Mark.
Yes, I'm here.
It's
Hey,
worrying.
Mark.
Yes.
Well, after all the years I listened to the Beeb.
Oh, look, there's Matthew waving to the VUC from within wire. Oh, that'll be the live, not so live feed going back over.
Yeah, that's a minute. It's a minute.
behind.
Everybody can come in.
Oh, look,
We attracted somebody. We attracted somebody.
That's right.
We're 1 minute behind with that.
Yeah, where's that coming from?
That's coming from the YouTube.
Yes, I hear you. Yes.
Yeah, do you have to turn?
Is
Join
it
the,
Mark? Mark,
join,
turn your...
kill the YouTube feed because it's a minute behind.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to do that.
So, Mark, were you on Wire and you saw the link and you thought, I'm going to press that and see what happens?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, well, you've missed out because we've run out of nice things to say about Wire. So, should we talk about the things that are not so nice about Wire? Tim, you can probably say what's not right about Wire because you're that kind of person. And he's muted himself.
Yes, so I actually like Wire for a couple of reasons. One is that the design is really pretty, and I'm sure that's been mentioned before. But the thing that I like about the design, being pretty and all that, is really good use of, I would say, not quite unique, but not too often used gestures to move around the apps. It's just some good ideas about how people actually would think about using it. I like the fact that they didn't really put any documentation or any documented way to do things because it's sort of like a treasure hunt for us early adopters.
Yeah, well, that's probably about right.
Yeah, like the whole idea.
Anyway, Mark, the question was, what does it not have? And I can think of one thing it doesn't have, Matthew, and that's Federation.
Well, Federation is not that big a deal. Invitation.
How can you say that, Mark, when you're sitting next to Matthew?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because if you think about where these guys come from and what they did before, they started out with nothing and there was no Federation at all for years. And they grew a massive user base. So they obviously know how to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, but that was like 6 years ago, and the world has moved on.
Right, so how do you think...
Skype kicked off, there was no easy-to-use Skype equivalent. Skype was the first. That's why Skype took off. But
yeah, but have you seen the number one on the App Store thing? How far they've spread it on the App Store already? They're doing pretty well.
They're doing pretty well, yeah.
That's my point.
You're absolutely right. It's because it's pretty and because people like us are promoting it hard, aren't we?
No, I think it's because they know what they're doing. They know how to do marketing. They got it into Verge and you know, all of the press and...
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So, but the Federation...
Just like an engineer to undervalue the marketing.
That's right, and I'm a marketing guy, and you know the lack of Federation is not that scary to me because if you if you understand the value of the N1 viral component, depending on the user community that you are targeting or that you start with, you can get widespread adoption very, very quickly without federation. Now, that doesn't mean I disagree with federation. I'm just saying that the problem with federation, in my opinion, today is that you're always going to the lowest common denominator, which gives a shitty experience.
Oh, Mark, stop. Matthew, go. Go
yeah,
on, Matthew.
I would slightly dispute the idea that it has to be lowest common denominator. I mean, obviously, by definition, it has to. It's going to be lowest common denominator to some extent, but the actual feature set can be better than what we're used to, in that you can have shared history, you can have rich markup, you can have arbitrary data sharing, and as long as the semantics are rich enough, you can actually have a much better experience than you did with XMPP, Baseline, or SIP, or any of the other federation technologies before. But I do agree with you also that it can be very successful and can potentially be a #1 app without federation. But imagine how much better it could be if it also did interoperate.
Oh, totally. And the other thing about that point is that using the technologies that underpin Wire, it would be much easier to get good federation than otherwise. The fact is that, I don't know what signaling, Wire is using, but I'm pretty sure it's using, codecs like Opus and H.264 and maybe VP8 in the future, or some kind of thing that.
Well, that's one of the points. It doesn't use VP8 or H.264 at the moment because it doesn't.
Well, it doesn't use anything at the moment.
And I think you've just touched on one of the reasons why it doesn't, because they're all a bit about codecs at the moment. So.
Well, the key point is that you have people who are intimately familiar with codecs and video and scalable video, scalable audio codecs, and have done a 0.9 version release, seeded it to early adopters through the iPhone and Android devices, and they're having a whack at it. And the basic motif, not just the user design, but the basic idea of kind of persistence in the shared stream is pretty good. I mean, they're taking the concept of Twitter and merging it with more real-time communications, which I think is kind of funny. I don't view this as like a competitor to Slack or a competitor to XMPP. This is more like a competitor to Twitter, where you really get interactivity. So I think they've done their job, and it's kind of telling that they didn't introduce video in this product, because that's what I think they wanted to see, how that motif actually worked.
I'm not sure I agree with everything you're saying there, Mark.
Well, you don't have to agree, because we don't know. We're speculating on the idea.
Yeah, but this is what we like. A good bit of contention and argument. Come on, Tim. You normally come up with something contentious, and you love to argue for the sake of arguing. So come on, have a go.
Yes, okay. I'm actually not feeling brilliant today. I've got myself a cold somehow. But anyway, so whether that means I'll be more brutal or less, I'm not sure. But so I tell you what it reminded me of, and probably none of you have used it because it was somewhat of a failure, which is worrying in a way. But it reminds me of the user experience of Facebook Paper.
Yeah, flat and edge to edge.
And swipey and flicky and all of that. I think it has that that sort of flow. And I have to say I really like Paper. I mean, there's stuff I don't like about Paper. It's my default iOS Facebook client, but I never use the other stuff, the thing where it's trying to generate news articles that I might find interesting and, all that.
You just like the way it worked, personally, like how you slide around and how you view things, and that's what I'm really commenting. The two things I'm commenting on Wire is that I think it's a beautiful app. I mean, it's really nicely designed, but the unique things are how the stream actually works for persistence, in communication, because you're 13 or 14 hours away from me, and I have friends in China, I have friends all over the place, and if you look at how this actually works, the persistent channel that you set up for your group
Yeah,
is
it's
great.
pretty cool. In fact, I would say it's absolutely essential, but it has to be said that Wire's not the only system that does that. And in fact, good old Matrix, matrix.org, does that for you and federates at the same time and does strong authentication and does a whole load of stuff, even if the clients are somewhat basic in their current form.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing here is that it's really the user experience that differentiates because, yeah, Matrix does it, but so does Google Hangouts, so does Facebook Messenger. I mean, you've got persistent messenger, persistent history in a lot of different idioms. Even with some of the XMPP variants, you have it. Well, you have it in our commercial BLAR application. But the huge difference that makes it a bit more compelling on Wire is the discovery mechanism and the UX. The fact that I upload my address book, but I don't immediately see the typical Viber or WhatsApp style list of all my contacts, and these are the guys who have it installed, but instead it's smart enough to go and look at the social graph and make a recommendation, and it's a recommendation that's my address book, effectively. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It is. It's clever. It's smart. Unlike the brute force and ignorance way that WhatsApp does it.
Precisely.
Yeah. So what else are we going to say? Nice things.
So WhatsApp's based around it. I think the other interesting design decision is that the lead-in namespace is email. It's not PSTN, whereas E164, whereas WhatsApp is very much E164.
Very true, and in fact, Wire has absolutely no PSTN leanings at all. It's totally non-PSTN at this point in time.
Except I read somewhere that the terms and conditions talk about PSTN quite a lot.
Really?
They do.
Well, you've been through them. You've analysed them, Matthew.
No, I didn't. I'm just standing on the shoulders of people with more time today.
This was my fault, Tim. I was going and rustling through them because I wanted to know how naughty I was being if I had looked at the line protocol, and apparently I would be very naughty. And the T's and C's go on about how you're not allowed to run call centers off it, and you're not allowed to charge people for the inbound calls, and all of these PSTN features, which obviously haven't yet landed in the app.
So what we're seeing is that not only do they have UI designers and marketeers, they also have lawyers on their team too.
Well, just think about it for a second. These guys like Teleo is a communication service that has PSTN and PBX features and things like that. Obviously, any kind of a hosted service would be remiss to not have good terms and conditions that protect them from fraud and all those other things. So, the fact that they're involved in that kind of an endeavor, and then they start this one, they just lift the best parts of things that they're not really ready to focus on, and craft their terms and conditions. They just took that, changed the names to protect the innocent, and that's what you got as terms and conditions. So I don't believe it necessarily has anything to do with PSTN capability coming.
Well, again, I'm not too sure about that. Anything with Alan Durrich involved in, sooner or later it's going to grow some PSTN back-endy stuff. Knowing Alan as I know Alan. He's got SS7 in his DNA, It'll
come.
The
question then becomes how, if they're not going to do some kind of something like that, then they have to find some way to monetize, right?
James, wasn't Alan at one of the recent meetups we were in, either in Madrid or Berlin with...
yeah, he was in Berlin.
He was in Berlin with Kamei.
A word about his background. He was responsible for one of the very early internet telephony service providers, Teleo, which currently is at number 3 carrier in Norway. But they're very big. They're certainly the biggest voice over IP provider in Norway, and they offer mobile service as well. So a fully converged mobile voice over IP thing, and that's all Alan's work. The guy is a superstar. Alan, if you're watching this, we love you. Get yourself on the Hangout so you can take a bow.
He's probably catching up with extremely stressful week. I imagine he's probably,
he's probably
raising a couple of Steiner in.
He's probably trying to fix all the bugs that I've raised in bug reports with him.
I do hope not.
They're obviously very busy. I reached out to Alan immediately, and they will obviously be on at some point on the VOC, but right now they're really busy.
Well, the person that we really ought to have on as well is Jonathan, because Jonathan Christensen is an incredibly interesting person. He's been behind so many things, so many good things. So we definitely need to have Jonathan on. And Alan as well. I mean, the two of them, a double act. And let's get Kuhn Voss on as well, so we can say nice things about Opus as well.
Does anybody remember?
I'd actually like the whoever's done the UX to talk. I think that's almost more interesting. I mean, you know.
I think the success we're seeing with Wire says volumes for how important the user interface is. If you get the user interface right, even though your functionality is pretty basic, and let's face it, the Wire functionality, if you compare it against something like Slack, for example, is somewhat lacking. Slack is dripping with functionality, which is why I kind of like it, but I'm kind of super geeky.
Have you considered running Slack on your iPhone?
I do run Slack on my iPhone, Tim.
Oh, really? And does it kill your battery?
No, it doesn't.
It's a thing for tools, and the thing is that it's focused on teams that are doing production. Like we use it at Ultra, and we have our Jira stuff connected.
Yeah,
so I see all the little things. Yeah.
Kind of here's proof. So here I'm getting push messages from Slack from Andy saying his OB high's crashed again. Sorry about that, Mark, if you're listening. So other Mark, Obi Mark.
Right.
We're doing some hairy things with pre-alpha Opus firmware on OB high. I shouldn't say that because we're live on air, aren't we? It's amazing what you can do.
You're talking to a bunch of geeks. So.
Yeah, we love Opus. So Kuhn
also
Voss,
speaking geekish to the geeks. So.
Yeah, we need to get Mark Williams back on, and he can tell us.
Actually, he's coming next week.
Oh, is he? Oh, great! So he can talk about Internet of Things with your phone, and wideband high definition codecs, and all kinds of good stuff like that.
Boy, I'm getting to be right curmudgeonly about the Internet of Things.
I went to a thing this week about the Internet of Things, and somebody said, absolutely gorgeous thing, which I think I'd heard before, but I still like it. He's saying that getting a virus in your Internet of Things is going to be indistinguishable from being haunted.
Oh, Mark, can I warn you that drawing things on people's faces live on air is frowned upon around here. I know what you're doing.
I'm not trying to do anything like that.
It has been done before.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, we're watching you.
I know. I'm just clicking on things because this is the first time I've seen some of these items on the menu bar.
Really? Have you not been in a live hangout before?
Oh, no. I've been in many live hangouts, but some of these are new. I mean, they just popped up in my browser, and I was like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, we need to make sure you get out more often. You need to come on. You need to come on the VOC, Mark, because the VOC is your weekly update on everything that's good, new, and exciting in the world of voiceover, IP, and even mobbly things as well.
Mark was on the VOC.
Right. Now that you're the head of all things appish, I mean, we're all about the apps, right?
Yeah.
That's right. And I will tell you that we will have something to share with you early next year.
Now there's a teaser.
Oh, it is. It is. It's been kind of a really interesting experience. Joining an MVNO. Because you typically think that MVNOs are doomed. They're just like house brands for they're shills for a larger organization like Boost is part of Sprint, but it's really just marketed to different people. So we have that kind of mindset, except that we're doing something, that very few MVNOs actually attempt, and we're doing it successfully, and we're profitable. And so that's the $100 million idea. So we want to do a $1 billion idea, and that's what I will talk about in the spring.
Ooh. Right. Well, you'll have to book your place, and we'll make sure that you come on and have a fair whack.
I sure will.
Anyway, right. I'm gonna have to dash because I'm going to be on the 1920 train out of Waterloo, and it's 18:41 now. I've got to pack everything up, lock things away, and get from Canary Wharf on the 21st floor to Waterloo Station, and that takes about 22 minutes. So I've got to get going.
Use that zip wire the nice Arab people have put in.
Zip wire? There is no zip wire. And I didn't notice any parachute.
I saw one the other day when I came to visit you. There was a little gondola that seemed to go in the right direction.
Really? Well, I didn't see that. Whilst we were having lunch on the 36th floor, was that?
Exactly. I look out the window. You'll see this. What's it called? The Emirates airline. I'm not sure it actually goes to where you want, but
the ski lifty thing.
Yes, I think you could, carefully parasail out of the window and then zip down it, and you'd be almost in the right place.
Yeah, well, I think you could probably free fall off the side of the building and have enough free air to pull your ripcord and land safely down in Canada Square, actually, from here. Just about.
There's a kids movie called The Maze, and that's sort of like how I imagine London is, because the walls close in and you're down at the wharf. All those tall buildings.
Well, Mark, if you come across, we'll show you the real London.
Oh, I've been there. I actually went to school in London for about a year.
Oh yeah, whereabouts?
I lived in Kensington Square.
Very upmarket.
Yeah, so I was just going to classes at the London School of Economics.
Oh, so you're a troublemaker then.
LSC, he is a troublemaker. All right, I think we're going to. I'm trying to find.
I'm packing up. I need to go.
James is packing up. Thanks everybody for taking part. The hangout will remain private as soon as I kill the broadcast, but we need to probably stop the YouTube broadcast. So I'm going to do that by clicking on this right now.
And if you're still going when I get on my train, I'll rejoin you from my train.
Okay. If I'm still alive, but in the meantime, just stopping the broadcast. It won't change anything in the hangout, except that we will not be on YouTube Live. And that happens.